Hey guys, it's Sarah with AmericanMuscle.com, and today we have a review and install of the Flowmaster Outlaw Axle-Back Exhaust with polished tips, fitting your 18 and newer Mustang GT without the active exhaust. This powerful axle-back exhaust offers that raspy muscle car sound thanks to Flowmaster's straight-through Outlaw mufflers. This exhaust is constructed from 3-inch mandrel bent tubing and finished off with these 304 stainless polished tips. So as far as sound goes, I'm giving this a 4 out of 5 on the loudness meter. This axleback does offer Flowmaster's loudest muffler option, but it does keep the factory resonator just to take a little bit of the edge off, so it's not quite a full straight pipe system. This option is for the Mustang owner who wants to save a little bit of money over a full catback system. Maybe you already have an X or H pipe installed, or you just really like the sound of that factory resonator, and you want one of the loudest options you can get for an axleback. Coming in at around $600, this is one of the most budget-friendly exhaust options you can choose for your Mustang. I'm giving this install a 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter. It does require some cutting to fit this axle back, but it can be done within 2 hours. So with that said, let's jump right into our install. For this install, we used an exhaust hanger removal tool, reciprocating saw, cutoff wheel, flathead screwdriver, extension, 13mm socket, a deep 15mm socket, tape measure, eye protection, a marker, a hammer, an impact gun, and an angle grinder. All right, so the first step in our uninstall is to grab a 15mm socket and loosen both the nuts on each of these pipes. Next up, we're going to remove these hangers from the subframe. You're going to want a 13mm socket and an extension. We're just going to go right over top of the sway bar. Now you can lift up and flip these out of the way. At this point, we can separate the exhaust from these 2 clamps that we loosened earlier. You may want a mallet, as this will make it a little bit easier to get them off. All right, now that the factory exhaust is uninstalled from our Mustang, we can put it side by side with this Flowmaster Axle-Back and really check out some of the similarities and differences. Now off the bat, you may have noticed we are reusing part of the piping and the resonator section. The Flowmaster Axle-Back really only replaces this back muffler section. They do upgrade the piping to 3 inches where the factory is 2.5, and they utilize these Outlaw straight-through mufflers, which are definitely going to improve the sound over stock. All right, so we have our factory exhaust here, and we put our axle back up next to it so we can get an idea of where to cut. Now we're going to want to cut 5 inches back from this bend here, which does put it right in the middle of this heat shield. So we will have to cut this heat shield off before we can cut our piping. So to do that, we have a cutoff wheel here, and we're going to start by cutting off the band that holds on this heat shield on the bottom. We need to do this on both sides. Next up, we're going to make a cut right back here on the weld so that we can flip this heat shield up and break it loose. All right, so now that we've made our cuts back here by the weld, we're just going to pry underneath the corner here. You can use a flathead or your hands and just rock it back and forth until we're able to break it loose. All right, now this portion is optional. If you'd like, you can grind down this weld a little bit just to take some of the sharp edges off. Because your pipe is gonna slip a little bit farther back, you don't need to do this. All right, so next up, we're gonna measure 5 inches back from this bend on the straight section. It comes to about there. If you're not sure, you can lay your axle back over and just double check. But we're gonna make our mark. Now at this point, you can cut where you made your mark. So now once you've made your cut, if there's any burrs around the piping, it does need to slip into the axle back section. So you might want to just clean those up a little bit to make it a little smoother. All right, so now that this side is complete, we're going to repeat that process on the other side of our piping. All right, once our cuts are complete, we can reinstall the resonator section on our Mustang. Now, if you have taken these clamps off, make sure you put them back at this point. So at this point, we can install our stock bracket with the rubber isolator on this hanger for our axle back section. Next up, we want to get this back hanger in by where the tips are before we get our piping installed. At this point, you can get your piping lined up and installed. Make sure the hanger bracket is in position. We can bolt that down. Grab your 13mm socket and extension and tighten this down. Repeat that process on the other side. Once the piping's installed, get the hanger in place and reinstall the hardware. At this point, we can tighten down all of our clamps, starting at the ones at the very front of our exhaust. Grab your 15mm socket and tighten these down. Line up your clamps on the front of your axle back. And with your 15mm socket, tighten these down. Repeat that on the other side. All right, so that is going to do it for the review and install of this Flowmaster Axle-Back. Remember, for all things Mustang, keep it at AmericanMuscle.com.